Good morning, students. Good morning, students. Okay, first of all, I'd like to honor those that are here, the principal officers in absentia, the facilitators, the guests, the staff here, and all the students. I'm very glad to be here today, and I know that you have just received so much wisdom from the first speaker, so I just want us to do something quick. I want you to stand up if you don't mind. Please stand up. So you want to shake off some of that energy. So what I want you to do is very simple. You're just going to take a deep breath. And then you breathe out. And then you tell yourself, I must be outstanding. Say it with so much conviction. Say, I must be outstanding. Now sit down. It would be a very sad thing for you to come here and learn so many things and go home the same way you came. And I believe and I hope that after this experience, you'll be transformed and you'll be headed in the right direction. So I was asked to give a presentation on the lifestyle of an outstanding student. Now, when I was asked to give that presentation, lots of things came to mind, but one of which was, what does it mean to be outstanding? I know the first speaker has given us a definition, but I'll just go briefly to tell us what it means to be outstanding. Now, very formally, when you hear of the word outstanding, you think of excellence, right? You think of someone that's awesome, you think of superlative, you think of a person or something that is skillful, something that is masterly. And then in more informal terms, when you think of someone that is outstanding, you think of somebody or something that is terrific, something that's really great, out of this world, something that blows your mind away. Now, I've come to discover that the best way to explain a concept is to represent it pictorially, to give you a pictorial representation of that concept so that it paints a picture in your head. So, the next slide, please. I have, which will be coming up very quickly, a picture of some outstanding people. I don't know if anybody can recognize anyone from here, even if it's just one person. Is there anybody? Okay, who do you recognize? Okay, Bill Gates. Who else? Facebook. Mark Zuckerberg. Okay. Dangote. Okay, so I'll just run through them briefly. Now, I want to say a few things about these people. They are highly successful and outstanding people. The first person on that list, that's the man that has a quizzical look. The first person is Bill Gates. I know that some of you have heard, if you have not heard of the name, you would have heard of Microsoft, or at least you have used Microsoft Word before. Is there anybody who hasn't used Microsoft Word? Okay, I don't expect to see any hand up. Now, Bill Gates is the founder of Microsoft, which is one of the most successful tech companies in the world, and he's one of the richest. He's one of the richest men in the world. And one other thing outstanding about Bill Gates is the fact that he started at a really young age. He started when he was very young, and he was the kind of person that would just write code somewhere. And his teachers noticed that he had something unique about him. And they said, the first code he wrote was like a tic-tac. I don't know if you know tic-tac-toe game. So it was a game he played. He did a code to play against the machine. And once they realized that, they asked him to write a code to schedule classes. That's to take lectures. And you know what Bill Gates did? He did something interesting. So he looked at the very interesting ladies in the class, and he scheduled the classes such that he would be in the class that had the very interesting students. So that was him using his intellect to his advantage. But that's not all that there is to know about Bill Gates. During his teen years, he read the entire World Book Encyclopedia series, which is, I'm not saying just one book, the whole series, because he was very keen on finding out things. He was very keen on knowledge. Now let's go to the next person. The next person is Warren Buffett. Now he's also a very outstanding person. He's not somebody you hear all the time, but he's somebody that from a very young age, he desired to be outstanding. He desired to be outstanding. And he started gathering stock, that's some form of investment, at the age of 11. So now, I know, like, before you're admitted to secondary school, you should be at least 10 or 11, right? So don't think, oh, maybe I'm still in GS1, I'm still in GS2, this is not for me. You can start where you are. It's a mindset. It's determining that you will not just be one of them, but you'll be unique and you'll be outstanding. And he started to gather stocks. At 10, when people were probably playing video games and all of that, he was taking a lecture from a member of New York Stock Exchange, and he was setting goals. He was determined, and he said, I will not just be among the number. I have to be outstanding. Now let's move to Mark Zuckerberg. I mean, he's the youngest of the four. He's 33, but I mean, he's older than you are, but he's 33, but he also started at a very young age. He's the CEO of Facebook. I'm sure you use, is there anybody who is not on Facebook here? Okay, quite a few. But I mean, most people are on Facebook. But one thing that is interesting about Mark Zuckerberg is that he also, like the other two, he desired to be successful and outstanding at a very young age. At 11, he developed a messaging program, and which was used by his dad in his dental office to send messages. He noticed that he was really smart. He tried to apply to Harvard, and he actually got in. And after that, he always made up his mind that he would be successful. And he went on to start Facebook. And the interesting thing is, before he finished high school, that's the equivalent of what you call your secondary school, he got job offers from companies like AOL, Microsoft. These are big companies. But he was like, yes, this is a big opportunity, but that's not where I'm headed. That's not where I want to stop. I want to pursue further. I want to be original, and I want my idea to get out there. Now, finally, in this category, we have Aliko Dangote. I don't know if you know Dangote. I'm sure you've heard of Dangote, one of the richest Africans, the founder of Dangote Group. He started business at a very young age. Do you know what he used to do? Dangote would gather boxes of sweets and take it to class. And then people would be like, what's this one doing? What's he doing? But he would take the boxes of sweets and sell it to his colleagues, of course with a profit. And then he started the culture of business. And then the thing is, after he finished his school in University of Cairo, he decided to start Dangote Group. He was just 21 when he started it. But he has built it to a very big conglomerate. And everybody's talking about Dangote now because somebody dared to be different. Somebody dared to be outstanding. I know you're saying these people are probably old people, they're really old people. So now let's bring it to people that are successful, that are teenagers that are also successful. So just can I get the next slide? Okay, so there's a reason why I chose this. Now we have Olivia rather, that's the first person in that group. This girl is a very outstanding lady. This is what she did. She decided to find a new way of testing for Ebola. I don't know if you know about Ebola. It was one major sickness disease that people were trying to avoid. I think was it 2015 and 2016. And the very outstanding thing is that she's just 17, and the means that she discovered was to be done without the use of electricity and without any refrigerator. Now, they are still doing lots of tests on her approach, but it got her some awards and some accolades. Now, the second person now is Flynn. I chose Flynn because he's not the conventional scientist or lawyer, but he developed an interest for cooking. I know that's slightly strange for a guy, you might think, but he discovered it, and he was like, even if it's not the norm, I want to be the best at this. And he became New York Times magazine cover boy, and he has one of the most successful restaurants as well. Then we have the third person there is Martin Odegaard. Now, I don't know if you know about Real Madrid. Is there anybody that knows about Real Madrid? This guy is just a teenager, and he subbed for Cristiano Ronaldo, which is a big deal. And he got a pitch with Real Madrid. He was the youngest person to ever get it. And the contract was worth $4 million. This is what this guy did. And that's so outstanding. The last person is actually a snowboarder, and she was the youngest person ever to win the Winter X Games. Now you're saying, you might also want to say that, well, yeah, they're teenagers, but most of them are white, probably because the facilities abroad are better. Maybe there's better internet facilities. There are more resources at their disposal. But so let's go to the next slide very quickly, which would round up the people that we'll talk about. Now we have outstanding Nigerian teenagers. Now, do you see people that look more like you? Do you see people that look more like you? So now we have the first set of people there. We have the Ikianosime brothers. They're actually software developers, and they started at a tender age. They're just teenagers. They're actually still in secondary school. It's called Blue Door Softwares, and they've come up with chat softwares. They've come up with a browser. It's called Croc Browser, to mention a few. Then we have Joel over there. He's also an entrepreneur. He owns his own company. He's into media, television presentation, blogging, and he's highly successful at it. Then we have Zura Loduwale. I don't know if you've heard of Zura Loduwale. She's actually very famous as a child education activist. She's talking about how a child should be educated, as well as she's also a filmmaker. And one thing she's also known for is the fact that she interviews presidents. So she has interviewed the most top presidents all over the world, and even world leaders in general. She interviewed Buhari, she's interviewed lots of people. And she was mentioned among the 100 most influential Africans. This young lady, she's actually just 14. Now we also have, for those, because there's somebody that said that the person likes acting. This is also a musician. That's MJ Kehinde. He started music at 13, and he has worked with lots and lots of people, big names in the music industry. Now, the reason why I went through the pain of explaining those people is so you know that sometimes people come and say, oh, I want to give you these nuggets of wisdom so that you can be outstanding. But the truth is, sometimes when you look at people, you'll see that it's really not far-fetched. It's something that you can determine in your heart to attain. And with the help of God, you, like the first speaker said, you have no limit whatsoever. Now, after the next slide, please. Now, what is an outstanding lifestyle? An outstanding lifestyle refers to the culture and the way of life of outstanding people. So it means that living your life in such a way that you are in such a way that you're unique, that people can tag you terrific, great, that people can term you to be out of this world. You want to live your life in such a way that people will be like, where did this person come from? I'm not sure he's from this planet. So that's what it means to be outstanding. Now, outstanding people have one thing in common, which is an absolute sense of mission. That's a quote from Zig Ziglar. That means they have a sense of mission. They know where they are going. They are not tossed about by what is happening, but they are very sure. They are certain. They have a sense of mission. Now, so I will just go through some habits of outstanding people. What do they do? What's their lifestyle? What's their lifestyle for? Now, like our convener said, it begins with your mind. They are not catastrophic thinkers. They are not people that, outstanding people are people that think right. They fill their minds with the right thing. They fill their minds with the right thing. They think right. They think are right. They believe in themselves, and it translates to what they think in their mind concerning themselves. And the second thing is they manage time. They manage time effectively, so they master time management. Now, if you see that, it's sort of like a quadrant. How do you manage time? Now, some people are always in a fix. What do? I have so much to do. I have so little time. There are certain things you have to do now. So you need to get a list of all the things you have to do. That is a very practical way that I've found to be effective. Is you need to get a list of all the things you have to do. First of all, you need to know what are the things I need to do. Then also, what is that thing I need to do now? So what do you have to do now? So you separate those things you have to do now. Then you have what you can do later. Those things you can do later. That means the things you have to do now are the high priority things. The things you can do later are things that are not that much a priority. Then the other thing is that what are the things that I can give others to do, I can sort of delegate. No, so your responsibility at that point is in achieving that task, whatever that task is to assign it to another person. There are things that you don't necessarily have to do, So if you are the class rep of your class or whatever, there are some responsibilities you don't have to do all the time. You can give it to another person. And then there are some things you can just avoid, you don't have to do them. It doesn't harm you if you don't do them. So that's one way you can master your time. You need to identify those things that are important to do. They will be at the top of your list, and you have to do them immediately. And then you have other things that you can do them later. Not like you procrastinate it to some other time that is way beyond the time allotted for the task, but something that you can do later without having a serious penalty. And then you have things that you can give to others, and you have things that you can avoid doing. Like, of course, you don't have to see a movie all the time. You have to, this is a time you have to make sacrifices. So you need to determine and say, there are certain things I have to avoid at this time. Now, outstanding people study effectively. Outstanding people study effectively. Everybody, like all the students here, I called you students, so obviously you're studying. So there's something you need to understand. You need to study effectively. It's not just about studying. One reason why certain people don't do as well as they want to is because they don't really understand how to study. Now, one way to understand how to study is first understanding the type of person you are. So I want you very briefly, in like 10 seconds, to write, am I a nocturnal? Am I active at night, or am I active at the day? So just write it. Pick the category you fall into. Are you the kind of person that is active at night? Are you the kind of person that's active at the daytime? So do you get more work done at night or during the day? So that's one way you can understand yourself. So you are not comparing yourself with your colleagues. Some people that would have read very well at night, and they'll come during the day and they are playing around, and there's a temptation that you just want to copy them. But when the results come out, you're stunned because they do so well. It's because they understand themselves, and they're using that at your own expense, and that shouldn't be so. Then if you've understood yourself, why don't you create a schedule for yourself, like a timetable? You can call it like a reading or whatever it is, studying timetable. So what the timetable does is you have a list of those things you need to do in general. You can have a lifestyle timetable, like all the things I need to do, I want to schedule them. Or it can just be for your courses. So if you have biology, if you have physics, or whatever course you have a timetable for yourself. Now you have that timetable you have designed for yourself. And then make the timetable in such a way that it's easy to, it's not necessarily, when I mean easy, I mean it's suited to the type of person you are. So it's not like, you cannot read 4 notes in a day. So you are the type of person that you're a slow learner, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It might just be that you're not as fast as your friend or your colleague. So so once you know yourself, you can put just two subjects a day, or you can put 3 subjects a day if that's okay, or even if it is 1. The thing is that you know yourself, you know what you can do, and you're sticking to that. Then after you've done that schedule, you want to ask yourself, am I the type of person that likes to read alone? That's another key thing. Or do I like to read in groups? Or do I like to read alone, then get support from group? Because some people just attend, I don't know if you have study groups or what some others call tutorial groups or something like that in your schools, or you have a group of friends that come together to read. Some people just join tutorial. My friends are going, I must go. Even if they know that I'm not that type of person. I need to read on my own. And there are other people that know their strengths, so they just read on their own. But there are times when they need to read. They need to read with people. The fact that you prefer reading on your own doesn't mean that you're not a team player, because it just might mean that you want, sometimes it's just that you want less distraction. So you need to understand yourself. And once you know that you will now decide to, once you've decided the best way you can read, you can follow your timetable and ensure that you stick with your, when I mean stick, I mean that you discipline yourself to follow your schedule day by day. I feel like there are other tips for effective studying, but this is just one. These are the few I want to discuss with you with regards to studying effectively. Then another thing is they learn when it's time to take a break and push through when they can. Now, I don't know if you understand the importance of taking breaks. I'm saying this particularly for those that just like to read. It might be for some people that are not necessarily, they are not as effective because they just want to do everything. I'm in the library 9 a.m. in the morning to 5 p.m. And they discover that they are, at some point, they finish reading and they cannot even recall anything that they've read. There's a need to take a break. I don't know, the figures keep changing, but I think it's about 1 hour, 30 minutes, or 2 hours, the level at which you can sort of, is it study or gather knowledge before you get to your saturation point. I think it's something between 1.5 and 2 hours. So the thing is, there are times you just need to sit back and take a break. So now your break is not like you now go around and be making noise or doing anything that will now make your reading that will make your reading not important. But the thing is, you need to sit down sometimes and say, this is a time to take a break. So you need to, people that are outstanding, they also take time to have a break. Then the next slide, please. Now I'm talking about the good parts you want to hear. They also reward themselves when they deserve it. They reward themselves when they deserve it. That's, excuse me, that's something that I've tried to do. Now, some people think that, what is rewarding yourself? Are you not supposed to know that you're supposed to read? But there's something it does to you mentally when you know that if you tell yourself that after I've read this note and this note, I'll treat myself to a bottle of drink. Or I would use, I would use my break money to buy something I really, Thank you, sir. This is me taking my break. All right. So they reward themselves. So they treat themselves to something special. Now you treat yourself to what you believe would be a reward to you. So maybe there's something you've been wanting. And then the truth is, what it does is that it increases passion when you know that, after I do this, this is the reward. I would get this. So it's more like it's something that sort of energizes you. You want to, because you know that there's a prize waiting at the end. You know, there's an immediate prize that you've created for yourself. So that's another thing. Then they ask for help when they need it. They ask for help when they need it. That is so essential. I don't know. Some people just feel like, I can't ask my friend though. No, I can't ask my friend. Some people just feel like, I can do it on my own. But there's something you need to understand. There is a time where you would, obviously, you can't do, no man is an island of his own, so you would need to ask for help when you need it. Whenever you need help, ask for help. Personally, that's one thing I've learned. One thing that I've also adopted, if I need help, I ask. I had a friend in school then. He was very good at one particular course that I needed help with. And I met him, and he was all those kind of people that once they want to help you, you have to treat them with regard. There were times, he was my classmate, but there were times I had to be greeting him, yes, thank you. I'll buy juice, I will do everything for him. He would tell me I should walk in front of him. I will walk. For me, there was nothing. Do this, I will do it. But the truth about it is, at the end of the day, when you get your desired result, nobody really comes to ask you, who is that person that now helped you? Or how did you get that knowledge you wanted? Because the truth is, in the real sense of it, people really celebrate results. They don't even necessarily care about the effort that was put into getting that result. So the truth is, whatever you need to do to be outstanding, pay that price. At the end of the day, when people are celebrating you, all those things will just be stories or a thing of the past or something you just laugh about. But you need to know that when you need to ask, humble yourself. Humble yourself. Humble yourself. That's one key way of getting elevated. You have to humble yourself and ask. Ask. And whatever, if it will involve you begging, beg. Because at the end of the day, when you become outstanding, people will celebrate you. Okay, next slide. Also, then they take care of themselves. The reason why I'm saying take care of yourself, I'm not teaching health education right now, but there's a part of taking care of yourself, and this has to do more with your personal hygiene, eating rightly, and resting. Now you might be like, how would that affect me? But the truth is, even when you want to study, when you eat properly, you have more energy to study. Even if it's not studying, doing things that you have to, the activities you have to do, you draw energy from eating, resting, and taking proper care of yourself. So I want you to tell your neighbor, I will take care of myself. I will eat right, and I will sleep just enough. All right, the next slide. Okay, then they also learn, outstanding people tend to decrease test anxiety. The thing about anxiety is that sometimes you know that you have something to do. I don't know, you get nervous. Like for instance, when I was preparing for this presentation, I was nervous actually. I was like, oh God, I was nervous, but I had to tell myself that I had to do things to help decrease the anxiety. You know, just keep telling yourself, what God says about you, and whatever it is that you need to do to decrease test anxiety. Now, for tests, for instance, anxiety, if you prepare properly, somehow, even before exams, even if you are still a bit scared, but it's not like the person that's not read at all. If you prepare properly, you are not as nervous, you're not anxious like the person that doesn't prepare at all. So everything you need to do, if it's about saying those, encouraging yourself, it's about reminding yourself of what you believe, what God says about you. If that's how you decrease anxiety, do whatever you have to do. Another thing is, they focus on one thing at a time. Now, focus here means follow one course until successful. Now, some people just want to do everything. Extracurricular activity, they are there. Even everything, even sports, you can call that extracurricular. They are there everywhere. They are there. They are in the choir. They are doing this. The team. It's good to do lots of things. It's good to be effective. It's good to do things. But there's a time to focus. For instance, you have your tests. You have your exam. What is priority during your exam period? Can anybody tell me? If you have an exam, what's priority then? You said? Reading, for instance, is important. So when that is the time you are going to the field to practice for your relay race, or that's the time you are going to go and sing in the choir, or then you're mixing up things. You need to focus on what is important per time. You need to focus on what is important per time. Then they create specific and realistic goals. That's one other thing that's helped me. And the truth is, when you're creating goals, you need to make sure that they are very specific. So what do you want to do? You want to, say, read for an exam. What do you want to do? You're preparing for this activity. Then you set specific goals. This is how I want to achieve that task. So it is very to the point. I am reading my book because I want to pass. I am attending this tutorial class because I want to pass. It's very specific. It's measurable in that it's a goal that you can sort of tell you can sort of tell how successful you've been in achieving it. So if it's a test, for instance, and you're setting a goal that I must read, so how you can measure it is that, okay, how many chapters have you been able to read from the plan that you already have? then it's flexible. It's something that it should be flexible. It should be exciting. It should be attainable. So you, for instance, now you say you just started reading today, and you say you want to read your complete 11 notes. I mean, that might be, but you want to complete it well in just, say, 3 hours. That's not being realistic. And then it must be time bound. That means you must set a time to it. You must say that I must read this within so and so period of time. So in a term, you have, I guess, say 3 months, right? You have 3 months in a term. So there must be goals that you say I must achieve in every month of the term. Then even saying a month, every month in a term, is sort of still ambiguous, so to speak. So you can say every week of the month, this is what I want to achieve. So when you break them into little chunks like that, it's easier to achieve than just giving yourself that, like the way we do New Year's resolution, where we write a bunch of things that are more like wishes than goals. I want to go to cross the mountain today. I want to learn how to play an instrument this year. I want to do so many things. And it's more like you're just saying your dream line, so to speak. But if you pick every month and you say, this is what I want to achieve in the month. So let's say, for instance, I want to finish my notes this month. I want to finish biology this month. And you're saying that every week I must cover, if the textbook you want to use as a guide has 12 chapters, you say for every week of the month, I want to cover 3 chapters. So that's very realistic, right? That's something you can attain because it's sort of time bound. So if you don't complete the first 3 chapters after the first week, you know that you're not headed in the right direction. Then they understand the place of God. That's very, very important. You need to understand that God takes precedence over everything. Now, this is what God being in the picture does. What God does is that he takes your little efforts and then he makes them into very, very great results that blows your mind. And then he takes your baby steps and he turns it into giant footprints. In essence, God makes all the difference. Trust God, understand, have a relationship with God. And you see that you don't need to struggle so much to get the desired end that you want. Now, very briefly, I want to just do a quick comparison between the outstanding student and the C student. Now, so I would be running now because I feel like I've spoken a long time. Okay, so we have the A student, that's the outstanding student. So now, in terms of attendance, so to class, to activities, to tutorials, they are on time. They are the forefront of things. Do you get? They are always there on time. They want to sit in front. So can I assume that everybody in front? No. That's a joke. Then you have preparation. The A student prepares very well. The A student studies hard, reads what they need to do. They read all the contents they need to cover. The A student is curious. You want to find out things. You want to know things. Do you get? You are very keen on knowing new things. Then the A student tries to retain what he or she has learned. And how does the A student try to retain what he or she has learned? You want to connect what you have been told with, say, some sort of experience you've gone through. So if you want to remember something and you might, link it to something like a more familiar concept. Or you can use like what they call mnemonics, I guess. Maybe you want to, like for instance, if you want to know about the planets, people use this Venn J sum, like Mercury, Venus, Earth, and the likes. So whatever it is that will help your the outstanding person's retentive ability, they put in that effort. Also, in terms of, next slide. Okay. In terms of attitude, the person has the right attitude. The person has the right attitude. The person is it's positive about things. Is very positive about things. The person, of course, shows some level of talent. I mean, the person has to work on their gift. The person generally shows some level of talent, puts in lots of effort, communicates effectively, and of course, after doing all those things, gets the highest grades. Do you get? The person has results that show that are a product of the efforts that the person has put. The C person, on the other hand, is a bit more lackadaisical. The person is less serious, less concerned. In terms of attitude, the person is not as curious. The person is not as willing. The person doesn't have as much positivity. The person is more like, whatever happens, we'll just live by it. The person, in terms of talent, doesn't put in as much, is not as talented. Then the person's efforts, they just do just enough. Let me just have C. Some people, their goals is, let me just have C. B is too much. A is too much. I just need C. That's all. C is all. That's how the normal average, that's the C student or the average student's mentality. The person doesn't really understand things and is not ready to be more effective in communicating. The person doesn't retain things as much. The person is not even curious. So the C person, whatever they teach us in class, that's all. Unlike the A students that would read through, get extra materials, the person isn't as curious. The person doesn't take as much effort in retaining what they have learned. And at the end of the day, their results speak, because they're the people that will just be, the average student, the person that just gets just enough. They don't get awards. They're not called up for things. Now, I want you to think to yourself as I round up, what do you want for yourself? Now this is the time you're doing this on your own. Think to yourself, what do you want for yourself? Do you want to be outstanding? Do you want to be somebody that is recognized? Do you want to be somebody that people talk about? Somebody that's unique? Or do you just want to be among the number, just the average person, nothing special, nothing really different? That's a serious question you have to ask yourself. What do you want for yourself? Because it's right, it's just in your hands. It's just in your hands. If you can imbibe those habits, pray, you do the right things, ensure that you manage your time rightly, ensure that you put in your best in whatever you do, you're focused, you're goal-oriented, then you can be outstanding. You can be outstanding and you can be the best in whatever you want to do. Now, I want you to just make this confession to yourself. I will be outstanding. I will not be a mediocre. I would be unique. I'll be highly successful. I will be highly terrific and wonderful. My results will blow people's minds. I pray I will do this in Jesus' name. Thank you so much. Be outstanding.